The next person we're going to have elucidate a bit of Gunny's life is Steve Sligar. Steve was a graduate student in physics who happened to reside in the biochemistry department. And I think he's probably the epitome of the cross-fertilization of the two groups. I met Steve in 72, I think, or 73. I was just finishing my degree, and I came and I was just really excited about what was going on. And Steve was playing with his 8-bit IMSI computer, which impressed me no end. Anyway, Steve received his PhD in the physics department. Has gone on to lead a fairly illustrious career that you people in Illinois know him well. Steve is, I think, important to us as a family. He's the I.C. Gunsalus Professor of Biochemistry. He has multiple other departmental affiliations, and he's the Director of Molecular and Cellular Biology. Okay, Steve?
It's really an honor here to join this celebration and kind of reflect back on 35 years of knowing Gunny and participating with him and really recognizing his life and his influence. Sort of as you heard, I came about joining the Gunny family in a kind of roundabout way. I actually came to the University of Illinois in 1970 to graduate school to work for Charlie Schlichter, because my undergraduate mentor had earned his PhD with Charlie and was passing along the baton. And I got to Illinois, and Charlie was on sabbatical. I met Fred Lamb, and Fred enticed me into to be an astrophysicist. So for a year, I was a theoretical astrophysicist working on white dwarf stars. And then I needed to escape the draft, and so I actually was an instructor with Hans Fraunfelder in a nuclear physics course. And that sort of saved me from going off to Vietnam. But that was the connection then that actually led to this bridge with biophysics that you've just heard about. Through these collective efforts of Hans and Peter de Brunner, and Eckhart Muench that was here at the time, there was really a superhighway that existed between the physics department and the biochemistry department at Illinois, in particular with Gunny in the biochemistry department and also Lowell Hager. And so this superhighway was really an amazing opportunity for people from both sides to exchange and go back and forth. And it's very unusual. We went through a little bit of a lacuna there, but we've rebuilt that superhighway, I think. We just earned the Physics Frontier Center grant to support the application of biological physics to real biological problems, an NSF Center Award that is now going to rebuild that superhighway with the kinds of interactions that Hans just alluded to. I had already found the biochemistry department because I was sort of wandering around a bit, and I ran into Gregorio Weber, and I ended up hanging out in his laboratory with Dick Spencer and George Mitchell, as these guys were trying to build the next generation of phase fluorometry, and had a lot of fun in that laboratory. And I was thinking about actually joining Gregorio's lab and trying to finish a degree in Gregorio's lab, but my fate was sealed when Gunny called a meeting in 420 Roger Adams' lab, and he had there Gregorio and Hans and Peter de Brunner, and Gunny said, okay, look, the deal is that you're going to sit in 417 RAL in a desk next to John Lipscomb, and you're going to get your degree with Peter de Brunner, and you're going to work on real enzymes, okay? And I said, oh, okay, that sounds really good. Now, I don't know why, he actually got around to doing this. This was a little bit like Adam Smith. I mean, this was the invisible hand of Gunny doing something, and I ended up sort of, joining here and sitting next to John. Why he took me under his wing, I'm not sure, because we were sort of a rebel physicist, but I do know that I was probably very disrespectful, because all of my heroes at the time were the physicists, Gell-Mann and Feynman and so on, and I didn't really know who Gunny was. And so we used to get into these long discussions, and, well, actually there were arguments, a lot about science. And so, I remember going back to Argonne Labs, where I was spending summers in solid state physics, and was telling my mentor there about this, that I met this guy Gunny, and he said, you mean the Gunsalus? And I said, no, I don't think this is the Gunsalus. I think this is just some biologist that's hacking around over in the biosphere. I can't probably be the Gunsalus. So somehow this sort of disrespect ended up being a very strong bond for all of us to go through the years with. And it's been really exciting to be part of that. Well, Gunny taught all of us an enormous amount. He didn't teach us in the laboratory as much about how to do an experiment. I don't think he was in the lab much, John, if you don't agree with that. But what he did teach us was how to take a discovery and grow that discovery and augment it, be able to package it till it solves a real problem, take that problem and actually begin to sell it to the competitiveness of the community at large in the scientific world, to actually begin to build real truths that you can actually stand on. And that was a tremendous opportunity to learn how to actually go about doing this in science. One of the things he also did was teach us how to pay our way. One day we were sitting in the laboratory, John and I, next to each other in 417, and Gunny came and he dropped an NIH grant application on the desk, and he said, you guys have been here for a year. It's about time you guys figure out how to pay your way here. I'm not going to support you for nothing. And so he drops this thing and walks off. And John and I, after a bottle of scotch or two, in this process of writing a grant, we got funded and we ended up staying on and continuing in our research there. So he taught us a little bit about the game of science and how to actually succeed in it. But he also taught us about life. Some of my great memories with Gunny are actually the lessons learned as we traveled together. Picking strawberries in Sweden as we drove up the coast to go to an international conference one time, traveling to the Greek islands with Marianne and Armand. Met Michelle later on in that time and having real fun in Spetses with those folks. Going to Trieste with Gunny when he got his job in the United Nations. And he taught me a lot there because I got to actually sit in on some of the business negotiations. And there's some interesting stories I can pass on at lunch about how you have to watch yourself in the real business world that Gunny was very, very important to teaching me there. So in fact, it's really been a wonderful experience with Gunny, and I think of all the travels, the ones that have stuck most with me is love of France. And so I went to sabbatical, and he arranged this with Pierre Dezou, and we've gone back many times to France and had a wonderful experience in France. I just returned last night, as I told many of you. My daughter is studying abroad at the Sorbonne, and we just got back last night, and I was thinking on the way back, it would be really nice if Gunny could see her now, because this was really as you heard earlier, he did build this bridge with the children. And of course, there's wine, okay? From digging the cellar, in 1709 Pleasant Street, with a hierarchy of different duties associated with where you were in the scientific ranks, to carting cases around in the middle of the night with Rob and Tony. I don't know how the wine actually got into the country, but we were doing things at midnight. I think there was a secret there about how the wine actually got in here. And then, of course, as you heard, we spent many a lunch over with Luke Kennedy's at Lamplighter and having a glass of Burgundy going on into the afternoons and discussing science. So let me close by just telling you my favorite image of Gunny, which I have this wonderful picture. And it's just him sitting there in the most relaxed and illuminated state. He's leaning back on our porch, and he has a white shirt. His tie is stuffed into his jacket pocket, though, and he's sitting back there, and he has a ballon with Burgundy sitting in his hand, and he has this just wonderful smile. And it sort of reflects on him, and this is the image I carry with him, because it's really his enjoyment of life that I think he sort of shared with all of us, and he is a great man. The stories you hear about Gunny are all true, and we carry with them forever, and we will miss him, but he isn't gone. Thank you.